How powerful are Reaver Titans? Can they beat the Space Marine chapter? Are they stronger than a Jaeger from Pacific Rim? What about an AC or Gundam? Are they truly the best Titans in the Imperium? How strong are they really? Most people think of 40K as a galaxy-wide war. Monsters and demigods grinding armies to dust as worlds burn to the tune of laughing gods. But there's an even larger war, standing hundreds of feet above the companies of Space Marines and countless Militarum regiments smashing into the lines of the Heretic, the Mutant and the Xenos. This is the realm of Titans, each and every single one of them a god engine crafted in the image of the Omnissiah's will, a machine born in the golden age of humanity, and our proof of righteous ownership to the stars. The Reaver Titan is said to be the Imperium's master Titan killer, a smaller battle Titan capable of bringing down any target, no matter its size. First, we will go over the lore, trying to understand how truly terrifying these titans are. Then we will cover the excerpts in which we see them obliterate multiple warhounds and warlords, and compare it to a Jaeger, Gundam and Armored Core from other settings, ending with a ranking on the 40K power scale. So stick around until the end to find out what makes Reaver Titans so powerful, and so you can properly argue with your friends why it is okay to spend upwards of $1,000 to buy a single miniature. Where lighter titans like the Warhounds, Direwolves or even Night Households have the role of rapid assault and scouting missions, the duty of brawling against the largest enemies of mankind falls to the Battle Titans. Smallest, but definitely not least amongst them, is the Reaver class Titan, the Collegia Titanica's premier all-rounder. Despite its age being relatively unknown, said to be secretly kept by high-ranking adepts within Mars itself, we know it would bestride the fields of war long before the Warlord Titan was born, maybe even before the end of the Dark Age of technology and before long nights befell humanity. As such, the Reaver in theory could be assumed to be the predecessor of the Warlord Titan, now relegated to simpler, secondary roles, as its tower-scraping larger kin take the role as the main fist of the Omnissiah. Although slowly outpaced and replaced with larger, more effective Titans, the 21-meter-tall, 720-ton Reaver has withstood the test of time. It was a mainstay during the Great Crusade, but as recently as M40, new Reavers have been produced to bestride the fields of battle. A regiment of Imperial Guards too broken and battered within the trench lines they had dug with their bleeding hands. The tank battalions lay in ruin, their supply lines had been cut off weeks ago, and this morning, the last rations of purified water had been given out. The Heretic's fortress continued to reap a great toll. The trenches burned with chemical fumes, defense batteries ripped open bunkers as burning people crawled and screamed, and the siege was about to fail. When the last of the desperate guardsmen almost wavered from their dire state and position, the ear-bleeding sound of our Reaver Titan's warhorn blared across the battlefield. 3 ancient war machines, cast and molded in the fires of Mars, rose from behind the mountain range far in the distance. As they entered optimal bombardment range, lasers, bolters, and missiles poured into the structure of the enemy's wall, rendering it asunder in a cacophony of shattered, hissing steel. With this breakthrough, the remnants of the Astra Militarum reunited under the gunfire of their saviors, charging into the newly made opening to bring vengeance for the loss of their comrades. So the Reaver Titan is the step between the Warhound and the Warlord class Titan. For every step upwards in the Titan category, they gain or lose 1 weapon hardpoint. The Warhound has 2 hardpoints, the Reaver has 3, both its arms and 1 on the carapace, and the Warlord has 4, 2 arms, 2 carapace. Generally as well, the weapons used by Imperial Titans are all the same. A large bolter, a large flamer, a massive melta gun, a Gatling gun, and a unique weapons per class. Simply put, they are all the same, just larger, more ammo, and more reliable. Fun fact, a lot of these weapons are exactly the same between the Warlord and the Reaver, but as Titan sizes increase, the generator do so as well. Imperial weapons don't always scale up in actual physical size, but by simply feeding more power into a weapon, it does the same thing, just better, faster, and more explosive? It makes no sense, but hey, it is 40K after all. Sadly, unlike most popular Titans favored by the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Reaver Titan has less than a handful of unique weapons to its class, relying on hand-me-downs and hand-me-ups to form a coherent arsenal. The Titan Power Fist and Titan Power Claw are the twin unique melee options a Reaver can call its own, having to share items such as the Chain Fist with the Warlord. In essence, they are designed to function like mobile siege rams, ripping out massive metal plates and rockcrete reinforcement beams with terrifying ease. Due to their size and power usage though, they do struggle to be used against other Titans. But if they get a clean punch in, the damage will be titanic. By far, the most interesting piece of arsenal available to the Reaver is the apocalyptic warp missile launcher. Upon being fired, the missile will immediately enter the vastness of the warp, skimming across the edge of the Sea of Souls as it calculates its exact location in reality. Once the timer runs out, it will re-enter reality, having bypassed any and all shields or physical defenses before it finally explodes on the inside of the target. As can be expected when you try to calculate things inside the warp, it is rather prone to failing. More often than not, the missile will show up anywhere within the galaxy, re-entering light years away from its original target as it takes out some poor agri-worker's house. Jokes aside, the standard loadout of the Reaver is the Titan-sized Power Fist, a massive Gatling blaster that shoots 150mm high explosive shells at a rate that I cannot even calculate, and usually carries an Apocalypse launcher on its back, a missile pod carrying dozens of supersonic self-steering missiles, pinning down entire armies in a single salvo. Now for how sturdy these titans are, I already explained ceramide plasteel composite and ceramide adamantine alloy in the Warhound video. Check it out if you want to learn more about the exact materials used to construct titans. But general numbers to keep in mind. Ceramide plasteel composite is about 4 times tougher than modern day steel. Ceramide adamantine alloy is about 5 to 10 times tougher than modern day steel. Utilizing the Horus Heresy Adeptus Titanicus book, we can deduce that a Reaver Titan has 12 to 18 inches of general armor paneling and a fully adamantine capitulus medullus superstructure. Using the math from before, this means that a Mars pattern Reaver using ceramide composite equals around 36 to 48 inches of steel, and a Lucius pattern Reaver using adamantine alloy equals nearly 90 inches in today's steel. Translating that to something we understand, that means that Reaver armor panels are thicker than the average person is tall. Don't forget, this calculation does not include the base superstructure, the heat dissipation and bending properties of the alloys used for Titans, or hell, how about the 4 void shields surrounding the Titan as well? I am not that good at maths, but just imagine every nuke we have today, launch them all at once at a Reaver Titan, and after the smoke clears, it would most likely still be standing. To carry these 3 massive weapons, all this chunky armor, move at 27 km an hour, and power 4 humming void shields, the Reaver is powered by a condensed Tethys plasma reactor. As strange as it may sound, the files of the Adeptus Mechanicus only list Titan reactors with their kiloton output, something usually only used for explosives, not power output. I guess this has to do with them either forgetting how to properly calculate wattage, or motive force as tech priests like to call it, or because the more powerful a reactor is, the more explosive it will be once it finally blows up. The Reaver produces only 282.7 kilotons of energy, something which the Warhound, its smaller brother, produces twice as much as. Due to its older design, it is actually way more efficient than any other reactor used in the god engines of the Imperium. It ain't much, but it is honest work. The only strange thing, besides the comparable tiny power output, is that for the Reaver, the plasma reactor is positioned on its back behind the beetle-like carapace, instead of inside the Titan itself, like for the Warhound in the Warlord classes. This means that from the front, the Reaver can nearly never be destroyed, but if a smart Warhound or a surprise Warlord suddenly appears from the back, dropping the soap is not the only easy target that is going to explode. Speaking of explosions, somebody has to pilot this god engine. As with the Warhound, every Titan is piloted by a single Princeps who is the actual pilot, and a group of 3 to 5 Moderati that lessen the strain of controlling such a massive and often angry machine. While the Princeps tames and works together with the massive machine spirit of the god engine, the Moderati operate its guns through weapon servitors, sending out locator pings, checking Vox networks, and more often than not, reacting with natural instinct as if a predator hunting the plains of old. As they imagine the movements of their machine alongside their Princeps, the Titan obliterates everything in its path. Now for something spicy. Let's talk about teleporting Reaver Titans. Yeah, teleporting god engines. Holy f***. Princeps Draka and his Reaver Titan known as the Praetorian stood in the massive arming hall of Legio Astorum. Vrax had fallen, and the world had turned a blind eye to the sacrifices made by the Emperor of Mankind many millennia ago. Draka sneered, this would not stand. The Warp Runners moved, teleport homers blared as light ensnared the Titan maniple, and half a dozen Titans disappeared from the massive ship, only to appear less than a second later on the surface of Vrax. The heretics did not know what had hit them. In this campaign of bloodshed and destruction, as seen in Imperial Armor Volumes 5 and 6, Praetorian and Draka were given countless honors and stories of glory, providing the Death Course of Krieg with protection, unparalleled fire support, destroying fortress walls, bunkers and defenses with speed rarely seen across across the Imperium. In the later stages of the siege, the forces of chaos would cause the death of the Praetorians' brother engines. The pain felt in their fall increased its taste for blood, growing ravenous as it turned a score of enemy tanks to slag, while it ripped apart 2 brass scorpions with its fists. Under the genius of Princeps Draka, a traitor titan was felled without a mere afterthought. A warhound slammed out of existence before it even knew a Reaver appeared behind it. The siege continued. Draka and Praetorian did not stop until it was done. Legio Astorum endured, but Vrax did not. Now with that lore out of the way, let's compare the Reaver Titan to some other massive mechs. How does it hold up against other 40k titans? A Jaeger, armored cores, Gundams? Well, let's see. For our first Titanic comparison, we are bringing in none other than the Mark III Jaeger, known as Gypsy Danger, or otherwise Danger. I actually don't know if I can say that first word, but here we are. A Jaeger weighs an easy 1000 tons more than the Reaver, and stands an impressive 50 meters taller. But how much of a difference does that actually make? Our Jaeger enters battle with 2 I-19 plasma casters and 2 retractable chainswords created from steel obsidian alloy, which can also be used as a pair of whips. Its massive fists can also be turned into improvised weapons, sending home rocket-powered punches that can pulverize cement. And its final weapon is a point-blank kiss from its nuclear vortex turbine. The Jaeger most definitely holds a mean punch in melee, and even shows limited ranged capabilities. Yet, what about protective capabilities? We have seen the Danger get tossed by the massive leatherback kaiju and even smashed into skyscrapers without taking too much damage. Yet its armor is far from invincible. During a fall from low orbit, we saw the armor on the Jaeger begin to melt away and take damage. And after some mats, it's just about as chunky as a medium-sized tank. A battle between the Reaver and a Jaeger would be intense for the Jaeger. With the Jaeger's preference for melee combat, it could certainly dominate. Yet with the Reaver's own fortress-smashing power fist and chain fist, it could cripple entire segments of its opponent with a single blow. In regards to ranged combat, it proves horribly one-sided. The Reaver would easily blast apart a Jaeger with a laser destroyer or, Omnissiah forbid, a volcano cannon. The Jaeger isn't fast enough to dodge, and with no void shields, or hell, even decent heat protection, it will melt and buckle under the first direct hit. An easy win for the Reaver. This one is for the armored core lovers. What about the Titan versus a CC-2000 Orbiter? Although armored cores are designed to be speedy as heck, flying in at over 600 to 1200 kilometers an hour, they are also not as armored or shielded as you think they are. A Reaver Titan fighting your average armor core would be closer to a man with a severe bee allergy having to fight, well, a bee. The weaponry of the Reaver Titan would absolutely destroy any armored core nearly instantly. But one strike from the armored core, especially against a Reaver's back, head or neck, would prove completely fatal. It truly is a hard matchup and one that changes quickly based on the armored core. But with both being more than capable of destroying one another, it should be considered a close tie. Fun fact though, an armored core, even the fastest in any of the games, cannot outrun the average speed of a Reaver Apocalypse missile. Yeah, 1200 kilometers an hour isn't gonna save you from being sent to the Emperor. For our final power scaler, we shall take a look at a legendary Gundam, more specifically the RX-78-2 Gundam from the original series. For all the comparisons so far, the Reaver and Gundam are most definitely the closest in height, with the Reaver being just 10 feet taller. In weight, however, the Gundam is more like a strawweight punching up against a colossal super heavyweight. The famed RX-78 is however made from some of the best armor one could ask for, Luna titanium. Regular titanium possesses its own issues for use on massive war machines, and therefore the Erg Federation designed a custom alloy, making a nearly indestructible protective skin for their Gundams. It would even be renamed to Gundarium alloy in honor of the first mobile suit that used it. Now how tough exactly is this Gundarium alloy? Well, it is more or less indestructible against conventional armaments. When operated by an inexperienced pilot, like Amuro Ray, the RX-78 will be riddled with hundreds if not thousands of 90mm and even 120mm gun shells, which, simply put, did not even scratch the armor. Even bigger caliber weapons, such as a 180mm cannon or a 280mm bazooka, could only inflict minor yet insignificant damage to the Gundam. So yes, can tank a Gatling gun with their 150mm shells? No way it can hold a volcano cannon or turbo penetrator. But can the Gundam deal damage to the Reaver? The Gundam possesses several weapons of note, but for now we will focus on its most iconic loadout, the beam rifle and a set of twin beam sabers. Within its own universe, the beam weapons were a marvel of technology and design, especially the beam rifle. This weapon is essentially a miniaturized mega-particle cannon, which was normally only seen on larger spaceships. In the hands of a Gundam, it fires 12 to 15 shots, which typically one-shot other mobile suits and bigger enemies like mobile armor. The beam sabers, however, should be more so compared to the lightsabers, capable of slicing through just about anything, on well, a titanic level. With such advanced armor, weapons and high speed, it is no wonder that the Earth Federation turned the tide of war with the deployment of only a handful of Gundams, securing victory with a cheaper mass-produced version. But unfortunately for the Gundam, our Reaver is no Zaku. While the beam rifle might seem like it could give the Gundam the edge, if truth be told, it is very comparable to the Imperium's Turbo Laser Destroyer. A weapon when wielded by the Reaver Titan is required in a 3-barrel format for effective use on the battlefield, being able to tank 10 to 20 salvos before its 4 void shields even waver at all. A fight between these two titans will be a hard fight of skill and maneuvering. Yet at range, the Gundam would require continual resupply to even be able to damage the advanced ceramite and adamantium armor of the Reaver. This feat becomes a nightmare to accomplish with only 12 to 15 shots. In melee combat, however, the Gundam could dominate, yet due to its size, it would most definitely fall from a single blow of a Reaver Power Fist. In conclusion, the Reaver would beat the RX-78 most of the time, and let's be honest, depending on the Gundam pilot, if he doesn't see the Rhino-sized Power Fist coming, he kinda deserves it. Now for the power skill level. For 40k we used a definitely scientifically proven rating of 40 Warhammers. If a guardsman is 1 Warhammer, a space marine equals 10 Warhammers, and the Emperor of Mankind is about 40 Warhammers. How many hammers can we give to the Reaver? As shown by the lore and excerpts we have covered today, the Reaver is no slouch in combat, both ranged and close combat. Although not the best for engaging with warlords, it can take on many threats within and outside its own universe. In my own personal opinion, the Reaver is at its absolute best in support of a larger force, instead of spearheading it. However, the Reaver does lack in certain qualities, being able to protect its plasma engine, but its 3 massive weapons compared to its size and armor make an easily underestimated absolute powerhouse of a Titan. And with that, I am happy to inform you that the Reaver gets 29 out of 40 Warhammers. It is certainly not capable of threatening something like the Emperor of Mankind, but it might be one of his most underappreciated tools. And that does it for today. Which is your favorite Titan and why? Do you think I should have given the Reaver a higher or lower score? If you guys know of any excerpts or crazy Reaver feats, post them down in the comment section below. I generally could find f*** for this video, so I had to improvise with some out of setting examples. Let me know if you want me to do that more often. What else should I cover in the How Powerful is X series? Please let me know your suggestions down below. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video, like if you haven't already, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye bye.